Don't you love getting up in the morning, making yourself a cup of coffee, going outside, enjoying your weather, and enjoying your amazing work in the garden? Myself, I love to enjoy coffee as an iced coffee because it helps me get through the summer heat. Now, of course, drinking coffee could be amazing, but wouldn't it be 10 times better growing it? In this video, I'm going to be showing you the proper guide and the secret to growing coffee in your very own backyard. Let's jump right into it. Now, there is over 123 varieties of coffee that are grown, but there is one of the most popular varieties out there, which is the Arabica coffee, which is commonly known to be grown for the coffee use. Something seems like it's missing in this table. This is my coffee plant. So I don't know the actual variety of my coffee plant. All I know is that it is native to Guatemala as the seeds were produced over there. Now, something that I really want to dig into is when it comes down to harvesting the coffee beans. Now, that I can't show you in today's video. I will talk to you guys about when it's proper to harvest the beans, but since my tree is still a very young tree, only has less than a year with me, it still has a little bit of about like 2-ish years under its belt before it starts producing. But before we get to that stage, you want to make sure that you set it up for success for you to get the best coffee beans. So let's go ahead and move on to our first topic, which is the ideal conditions or growing climate for coffee. Now, something that you should keep in mind is that coffee, it originates from places that are high levels of humidity, high levels of heat, aka tropical climates. Coffee is commonly known to grow in tropical climates. So here in Florida, we are the perfect spot for coffee to grow. Now, of course, that does not mean we can plant it in the ground just like an avocado or mango and leave it alone and it will do perfectly fine. No, there's certain things you should keep in mind. Coming at number one is although they like Florida climate, tropical climate, they're not a main canopy tree. They're actually an underlayer tree, which means that they cannot handle being blasted with full sun all day because then they will crisp and die. They cannot sustain that direct sun. So what I'd recommend is planting it under bigger trees. For example, I have an ice cream bean that dapples this area with a little bit of sunlight. So this plant would receive dappled sunlight and it will receive a little bit of sunlight during the afternoon, but that's only like for about an hour. And then I have a banana tree and a mango tree that shades it for the rest of the day. So this is the perfect spot to grow coffee. Now, I've seen some gardeners grow coffee in containers. So if you want to grow coffee, but you're not in an area like Florida, you could grow it in a container, in a greenhouse, but making sure that it's away from direct sunlight as it will burn your tree. You don't want that to happen. Number two is that it loves humidity levels. So that's why if you're a gardener not in Florida, growing it in a greenhouse is ideal because coffee needs those high levels of humidity. Now here, Florida is a greenhouse itself, so it would do perfectly fine in my area. Finally is the moisture. So when it comes down to coffee, they love to have soil that will retain a little bit of moisture, but that won't sit in water. So since my soil is built up of some sand, it will allow the water to drain out. But since it has some soil in it for the times and the years I've amended it, it will be able to retain a little bit of moisture to keep the coffee happy. So I dug a pretty good sized hole here in my ground. So you don't want to dig it too deep in which your plant is just sunk underground, but you want to plant it at ground level. And I'm going to tell you why now. So let me bring you a little bit closer to see what I'll be doing. So this is the area I have prepped for the coffee bean. So now I'm going to go ahead and take it out of its container. You want to make sure you rough up that root system because you do not want a root bounded plant. Place it in there. And then fill it back up with soil. So now that my tree is planted, here is now a tip I would recommend when it comes down to growing trees. So as you can see, it's at soil level. So something you could do to make sure that your plant will stay nice and hydrated is to make a ring of soil around the base of the tree. By doing this, you'll make sure that your tree is well watered. So whenever there's natural rainfall that falls, it will go ahead and stay collected in here and make sure that your tree and the roots are well hydrated. So now that we planted it, let's go ahead and talk about watering, which also leads us into feeding. Now here I have my watering can. So something that I like to do is when I recently plant a tree or a plant in my garden, I will make sure that I feed it right away. Now I usually never use granule fertilizers because something that I love using, which here comes the secret to growing the best plants, is using earthworm castings. Now, earthworm castings is an organic fertilizer or feed that helps plants thrive. Why? Because it is manure. It's organic. So anything organic maintains nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, all those good things that plants need to thrive. So, what I would recommend is after planting your coffee beans, now I use the Vermicera Earthworm Casting Tea, which has to be diluted in water. This is a 2 gallon sized watering can. So, I have to mix in 4 ounces because it's 2 ounces per gallon. So, I'll make sure that I water in well the tree. And as you can see, the concept of the soil ring is to make sure that the water stays in there, especially if you deal with areas that deal with lots of drought. Whenever there is a natural rainfall, it's always good to do this little trick because then it can help the tree suck up more natural rainfall. And just like that, you have a properly planted coffee bean. So now let's go ahead and talk about how to care for it. Now, the care guide is quite simple. All that I would recommend to do is to make sure you have a visual or vigilant eye on your plant. Coffee beans will tell you when they are stressed, diseased, or they just don't like the area they're in. One of the main reasons you could tell is by the colors of the leaves that are changing, by if the leaves are curled up. Usually, when leaves are curled up or when you see small holes start developing on your leaves, that means that you have a pest issue or a disease issue on your tree. Now, it's really important that you go through and treat it as soon as you can. I always recommend going organic. So if it could be treated with neem oil, go for it. Treat it with it because it's an organic and plant-based spray. Now, if you have anything on hand that you know works best for your plants, then use that as well. But I always recommend catch it early and treat it early so it does not take over your plant. So now let's go ahead and talk about how to harvest the berries. So although my trees is not producing any berries right now, some of the tips I could give you is if your tree is bearing fruit and you want to know when to harvest the berries for the coffee bean, the main detailed sign is that the color will change to a more deeper red color. And second is that it will start feeling more softer and squishy. Once that happens, that means that your coffee is ready to be harvested for the beans. Now, there's a whole process when it comes down to fermenting and roasting your beans before they're even ready to become a cup of coffee. Which, if you would like to see a video on that, let me know and I will definitely show you one once I have coffee beans of my own. So go out, enjoy yourself in the garden, and watch your tree grow. And soon enough, you'll be able to enjoy your very own organic, homegrown cup of coffee. Leave me in the comment section down below. Have you grown coffee? And if you did, how was it? Make sure to leave a like underneath this video and subscribe if you aren't already. Thank you all so much for watching this video. May God bless you and your entire family. And never forget to grow big, ultimate gardeners. Bye, everyone.